Judge overseeing Donald Trump's classified documents case issued an unusual order this week, and the order was regarding the jury instructions at the end of the trial. Even though the judge hasn't said when the trial will be held, the order suggested Judge Aileen Cannon's openness to the Trump team's claims that the Presidential Records Act allows presidents to declare highly classified documents to be personal property. National security law experts say that's not what the law says or how it's been interpreted over decades by the courts. The great Chuck Rosenberg is still with us.
Chuck, this has been described by other legal experts as very, very troubling. Do you agree?
I do, Alicia. Under the Presidential Records Act, the official records of a president belong to the American people and the National Archives, not to the president. As for classified information, I don't believe there's any argument you can make that a president can take classified information home with him or her and declassify it and claim it to be their own. That's nonsense.
Chuck, we're talking a little bit about Judge Aileen Cannon on this case, and there are a lot of views about how she's handled this case and continues to handle this case. I, for one, just to put my bias on the table, feel that looking at her objectively, that she's got at least a pinky finger on the scales of justice for Donald Trump. Disabuse me of that notion. Tell me where I may be wrong. How do you see how she's managing this case? Because a lot of legal experts out there are scratching. It's a heck of a lot smarter than me. And I'm a recovering lawyer. I get it. But at the same time, they're sitting there going, what is she doing? What's happening here? Why is she flying in the face of obvious black letter law?
I don't think she's biased, Michael. I think there's a different problem. I think there's something else going on. I mean, just because a person is nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate to become a federal judge doesn't mean that she is endowed suddenly, overnight, with great wisdom, knowledge, experience, judgment. Those are things that you gain over years, right? I mean, frankly, some judges are really, really good, and some are really, really bad, and most are somewhere in between. And the same thing is true of plumbers and dentists, and I hate to say this, but airline pilots, too. Right? If you lose 2 engines over the Hudson at 3,000 feet, you'd rather have Sully Sullenberger at the controls than some mediocre pilot. I believe she's bad at her job.
You think she's green?
Well, she's certainly green. She hasn't had a lot of trials as a judge. I think the number is 4, and they've all been relatively simple. And by the way, Simone, that's not her fault. She's new at this. Maybe one day she'll be really good at this. There's not a lot of evidence to support that right now. But I think she's struggling, and I think some of the things that you're seeing from her, as Alicia mentioned, are just silly. They're wrong. They're misstatements of the law. And it's got to be maddening for the prosecutors to try and litigate in front of her.
Chuck, I'm sure there are people sitting at home right now saying, well, if she is so green, one, how did she end up with this case? And 2, you know, I used to watch How to Be a Millionaire. I would phone a friend. So why has she not phoned a friend?
Yeah, I've never seen The Millionaire Show. What is it called?
How to Be a Millionaire? I'm going to send you a link on YouTube.
Yeah, please do. So there are people who could mentor her and who could answer her questions. And I don't know if she's tried that or not. How does she get this case? Well, she's a federal judge in the Southern District of Florida, and they have a modified, lottery system which assigns cases mostly at random, although there's some weighting within the system. So once you're a federal judge, Simone, if you became a federal judge tomorrow and you were sitting in the Southern District of Florida, your name, your ping pong ball goes into a big hopper, and they turn the handle, and if Simone pops out, then you're the judge on the case. That's what happened here.
Oh, goodness. I would phone a friend. Alicia, I don't know about
Alicia,
you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call Alicia because she's not a lawyer.
Alicia,
I would not phone Alicia. She's not a lawyer. But I would phone her because I'm like, well, girl, who do you think I should call?
That's right. I'd phone you. Yeah, who
I watched a lot of Law and Order. I took the LSAT. I've covered the Trump years. I am practically a lawyer at this point. We all are. Here's the thing. Here's the push and pull, Chuck Rosenberg, which we've talked about a lot as it relates to this case, which is Jack Smith wants to keep things moving. And so his competing interests here are a judge who continues to make questionable judgments, and knowing that if there is any effort to remove her from the bench, that serves only to slow down this case. So if you are Jack Smith, how are you weighing those two realities against each other?
Yeah, I do not move to recuse her from the case. Number one, I think that is a terrible look for the government. Number two, I think it absolutely fails. Look, sometimes you get a bad draw, Alicia. This is their draw. Not to be too cliched or trite, but you got to play the hand you're dealt, and they're going to have to litigate this case in front of Judge Cannon. Hopefully, over time, they can help educate her on the law, and hopefully, over time, she can begin to absorb some of those lessons. But right now, it is not pretty, and that's unfortunate because cases, from a prosecutor's perspective, do not get better with age.
Well, the stakes are high, and the fact that it's not pretty, is concerning. But yeah, I have faith, Chuck, that she'll learn on the job.
Learn on the job. I mean, why do we not have a trial date here yet? And I wouldn't have asked that question, but she's also talking about jury instructions, post-trial things, but there is no trial date.
There's no trial date because she's not very good or efficient at managing her docket. Again, I've been in front of some very, very good judges in the Eastern District of Virginia, superb judges. There's also a culture there, it's known as the rocket docket, to move your cases with some degree of alacrity because the thinking is, and I think it's right, that everybody benefits when cases are resolved. She does not seem to be up to the task. Again, to Michael's very first point, Simone, I don't believe that's bias. I believe right now, and this may sound harsh, that it's incompetence.
Well, it also just might be the truth, Chuck Rosenberg. And that, for me, is refreshing. I don't know about the rest of you all.